Okay, so I'm just gonna switch up a little bit, and I also teach math, so I'm going to start doing some math videos as well for my students. And the one I want to start off with is where the kids are right now, which is systems of equations in grade 10 math. So to be able to do this, you need to know the 3 different forms of showing an equation. So slope, y-intercept form, and you use this way if you have the slope, which is shown with m, and your y-intercept, which is shown with the variable b. Then the second way, point slope form. So you would use this form if you have a point, any xy value. So x1, y1, we'll call it, and that would go in for those points, and if you have the slope. And then lastly, you have general form, and we could rearrange an equation to be in general form. And to do this, all you need to do is bring everything to one side, and you base that on the x value. So you want the x to be positive. So make sure that your x value is positive. So you move it to the left or the right to make that happen, and then bring the rest. General form doesn't like to have fractions, so if you do have a fraction, we'll have to multiply by the lowest common denominator. So let's look at our first question. We have 2 points, and we're going to find the equation of the line in the 3 forms given. So first off, in these forms, you definitely need the slope, and your slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if you label your points, you have xy for each of these, because all of these are ordered pairs. To tell them apart, call the first one 1, the second one 2, and then plug it into the formula. So you'll have 4 minus 1 over -5 minus -1. So 4 minus 1 gives you 3. -5 minus a negative means you're adding, will be -4. So your slope is -3 over 4. Now, because you don't have a y-intercept, we're going to start with point slope form. With this point slope form, you can pick either point to plug into the formula. So my first form is y minus y1 equals your slope times x minus x1. So let's pick our point, which I'll just use that first one. My x1, y1 are already labeled, so let's plug that in. Y minus 1 equals your slope, which you calculated, times x minus -1, which is x plus 1. So this is your answer for point slope form. Now we can turn that into slope y-intercept form by distributing the slope through and getting y alone. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'll have y minus 1 equals -3 over 4x minus 3 over 4. And then I need to add 1 to both sides. So I'll have y equals -3 over 4x plus, I believe it's 0.25, but let's just double check. Just need my calculator really quickly. So 3 over 4, which was negative. Yes, so that would simplify, if I keep a fraction, to 1 over 4, and it would be positive. So that is slope y-intercept form. So from that, you also know some information now that your y-intercept is at 1 over 4. So that would be when x is 0, y is 1 over 4. It's not asking that, just a bit extra. Then lastly, we can put it into general form. So I'm going to look at this last equation here. I want my x to be positive, so I'm going to move it over to the right. So if I just rewrite my equation, -3 over 4x plus 1 over 4, I'm going to add 3 over 4x to both sides. So doing that in my first step makes it go away on the right. And then I'm just going to write my x value first. So I have 3 over 4x plus y equals 1 over 4. So now I need to move the 1 over 4 to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 1 over 4 from both sides. So from the right-hand side, it cancels, and it will equal 0. From the left-hand side, I now have 3 over 4x plus y minus 1 over 4. And then as mentioned from the beginning, we want our x to be positive. That's why we moved it to the left. We also don't want fractions. So your lowest common denominator is 4. We're going to multiply every term by 4, including the 0, because it's the whole thing. It's just not going to affect it. So the first one will be just 3x, because your 4's will cancel, plus 4y minus 1, because again, for this one, your 4's will cancel, equals 0. So now we've done everything. We have our 3 forms, lastly, general form, and we've done all the work. So it's not that hard. You just have to take your time, be careful with your signs. Now, the other one I have up here is to solve the system. There's different ways you can solve a system. There is substitution, there's elimination, and then there's graphing. So when you solve the system, what you're looking for is a point that works on both equations, and it's the point of intersection. So if you were to graph it, if you were to graph it, you would have essentially an X. You're finding where that point is intersected. Now, to solve the system, there are different ways. There's substitution, and then there's elimination, and like I said, there's graphing. When you know all ways, you can do any way you want. So like for myself right now, and I'll do another video where I show every single way, but I would just choose addition. So if I'm adding these two together, my y's would cancel, and I would have 7x equals 7. Knowing that I need to solve for x, I divide both sides by 7, and I'll see x equals 1. So I know my first point is 1, and now this has to work on either line. So now I would go and plug 1 in for x and figure out what y equals, and you can use either equation for that. So if I use my first one, I'll have 4 minus y equals 6. I want to subtract 4 from both sides, and I get negative y equals 2. Divide both sides by negative 1, and y will equal negative 2. So to solve this system, I have a point xy, which would be my point of intersection, and that happens when x is 1 and y is negative 2. So that would be my solution. And like I said, there are other ways to solve for it. It's just do whatever one that the system allows you to, or whichever one you like the best. Now, this is just one last question just to show we understand. So this is y equals 6x plus 8. So this is in the form y equals mx plus b. So whatever is in front of your x is your is your slope. So the slope of this line is 6. So you'd go up 6 over 1 to get to the next point if we were just to graph it like that. Your y-intercept is the number by itself. So it's 8. So y-intercepts happen when x equals 0. So that would be 0 and 8. If you want to find an x-intercept, then y equals 0. So if I set y equal to 0 and solve for x, I would get x alone by moving the 8 over. So 8 equals 6x, and then divide both sides by 6. Now, 8 over 6, I'll keep it as a fraction, but it does reduce to 4 over 3. So your x-intercept is 4 over 3 and 0. Now, these last two are showing that you understand parallel and perpendicular. So saying, what can an equation of a parallel line be? If your lines are parallel, then your slope from your first line will equal the slope of your second line, but your y-intercepts have to be different because you don't want them to touch. So an equation that I can just make up would have to be y equals, has to have the same slope, so 6x, and then you can pick any number that's not 8. So if I wrote y equals 6x plus 2, that one would be a parallel line. If I quickly graphed it, I'd have one which has a y-intercept at 8, looking something like that, and another one, this line, would have that y-intercept at 2, looking something like that. So both of these have a slope of 6, and they're equal distance apart all the time. They are never going to touch, and that's because they have those different y-intercepts. If I'm asking an equation of a perpendicular line, so to be perpendicular, you take your original slope, you flip it, and change the sign. So if my original slope is 6, that would be saying 6 over 1. So if I flipped it, it'd be 1 over 6, and it was positive. Now I'm going to make it negative. So negative 1 over 6. Your y-intercept could be the same, could be different. It doesn't matter. It's just depending. Sorry, I don't know why. It just depends on the slopes. So a perpendicular line can have the equation y equals negative 1 over 6x plus or minus whatever number you want will give you a perpendicular line. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please subscribe. And if you'd like me to do any other video, just let me know. Thanks for watching.